Please switch off your video and mute your microphone. You will see there are two forms that I posted on which you have to fill in your student number. And there are two forms, an evaluation form and uh, to notice that you are there. Please try and fill them in. Some students complain that they can't submit the forms. I'll try and sort that out if I have to. If you have queries, send them to CT in Tat, or you can contact me directly with etalyam@unisa.ac.za, and then the session is being recorded for once I remember to use that. I still need to apologize for what happened with our last meeting. The battery on my UPS ran out, so I lost all my Wi-Fi, and I couldn't even use the data on my cell phone because the cell phone towers in our area were down with the load shedding. So I apologize again. If we go to today, we're going to have a program in which Stefanie Whitehead is going to present her research up till now. She's the first one from the students to present. I would like you to apply because I'm seeing this as a mentor opportunity as well. If you want to, I can help you with the slides and I can work with you. Stephanie submitted a CV and I can help you because this CV, you are already working then on the CV that you have to present for your ethical clearance. So it will be a good idea if you can try. And the next one is on the 8th of October. So if you can see yourself open to present, if you can have it with me before the 22nd, 23rd of September, that'd be nice because then I will have time to really mentor you through the process. That will be her presentation, and then I have the feedback on Turnitin, and then some academic writing advice. And we have to decide on our way forward. I see Jock in the class. He's the guy who tells me to jump around, and I have finished with the requirements, but many of you are new. So if you'd like me to go through something that we have done previously, I don't mind. And if you need a facilitator in a group discussion, if you are working on a group project, I also don't mind. So let your ideas go about what do you want from postgraduate support for the rest of the semester. Now, Stephanie, as you can see, is a young lady. She did her Bachelor of Arts in Organizational Psychology and Sociology at Rhodes University. And afterwards, she did a Bachelor of Arts Honours in Psychology, also at Rhodes University. And then she did the Postgraduate Diploma in Tertiary Education at UNISA. Interestingly enough, she worked at private institutions, the Varsity College in Cape Town, and then later at the Pearson Institute of Higher Education, also in Cape Town. Then she left South Africa The last time I spoke to her, she was in Mauritius. So she must be one of the few people with a nice tan at the moment. And she is doing the work of a digital teaching assistant at UNISA. I've been an e-tutor, and it was a pleasant surprise to learn from her that there are signature modules where the students have to take part in digital conversations. I am really looking forward to listening to Stephanie. Stephanie, it's all yours.
Thanks, Mimi. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Can you hear me?
Usually they can.
Okay, no problem. Thanks, Mimi, and for the introduction and for inviting me to present my master's journey so far with everybody. I'm still at the proposal stage, and I'm completing a master's of education, specializing in adult education. I just want to let everybody know that I am by no means an expert in research. I'm on the same journey as everybody else and looking forward to the final completion, which will hopefully be end of next year. I've had, and I'm sure everyone else has had, a love-hate relationship with their masters, their proposal, research in general, dare I say it, UNISA, myself and my supervisors. At the moment, I'm in a love relationship with everything, but I know it's not an easy journey. I've settled on this topic, the effectiveness of teaching assistant in a signature module, a case study looking at improving students' performance. I will break it down and explain the concepts as I go through the conversation today. So the breakdown that I will be discussing is the journey of my master's, the journey of being a teaching assistant. These two are very linked and closely related, so it's important that I discuss this. The journey of my proposal, the support that I have received from UNISA, the problems and challenges I have faced up until now, some highlights of this process, and advice that I can give students from my limited experience. So why did I start my master's or study in the first place? I was working in higher education, tertiary higher education, in an environment where learning was all around me. I worked with very highly educated staff members, all with PhDs and masters. And this environment of learning really, really motivated me to study further. I had studied organizational psychology, and though it was useful, I didn't feel that it was useful enough for me in the environment that I was in. I wanted to grow professionally and learn about education, especially adult education. So as mentioned, I started with my PGTE, postgrad diploma in tertiary education. I chose UNISA, like everybody else in this group, most likely because you're working and you can study part-time and work. And this qualification gave me entry into my master's. When I finished the postgrad diploma, I thought about applying for masters, and I applied at a few institutions in the Cape Town region, UCT, Stellenbosch, UWC, and I settled on UNISA due to two main reasons, affordability of study and the fact that I could do it part-time. I had a feeling that UNISA understood the plight of working adult students and had an understanding towards those juggling life, their studies and work. I opted for coursework and dissertation. The reason being I felt for myself, please, this is not a dig at full dissertation, but for myself, I felt I wanted to have a more broader knowledge on adult education, and I wanted to learn more. That's why I chose the coursework. For me, dissertation would be too narrow and in-depth on sort of one topic. I also know that research is not a particular strength of mine, so I thought it would be a little bit more to my skills to have coursework and dissertation. While working and learning and having to think of how I was going to do my master's, what topic I was going to do, I thought about what would be beneficial to me in my work environment to help me grow professionally. And I thought about what would interest me to study, to look at, to spend all of this time researching. And I figured out that I was really interested in teaching and learning support. This would be how teachers teach and how students learn. I noticed there was a major and growing gap between students' capabilities and their foundations when they enter tertiary education environment and what we expected of them as a student in that first year. This gap was growing every year. I also noticed that in the private education sector or industry, we hired experts in the industry and not necessarily teachers. Not everyone had a degree or qualification or background in teaching. They might have been a marketing director for a very long time and are able to impart knowledge on marketing, but their teaching skills perhaps weren't quite there. So I was really, really fascinated with how students learn and how teachers teach. And as I said, I wanted to do something that I could benefit from professionally and something that was of interest to me because it's a commitment. You spend a long time on this journey. So my original topic when I first registered for my master's was the support structures given to degree students at South African higher education institutions in preparation for working life and post-education. This was going to look at a few education institutions and look at what support structures are given to the students, how it prepares them for career and for postgrad studies. Unfortunately, life happened and I had to deregister from that master's degree. And it took me a couple years to get back into wanting to do my master's again. And I registered last year. Because I was not a current registered student from the year before, part of the registration process was to submit a research plan, because this is the only section I have left for my master's. I decided, and I'll explain why a little bit later, I decided that for that registration document where you have to give a research plan, that I would do a research proposal. And I did a research proposal on my own with the guidance of the UNISA document of the structure. And my topic was, can having an active teaching assistant in online distance higher education improve the success rate of student performance in their first year of study? So this research plan became my first draft of my proposal. Okay, next slide. So I have to talk about what a teaching assistant is and the journey that I've been on with this. I'll get further into the masters and the proposal and all of that kind of stuff, but this is really related. So what is a TA? What is the signature module? And what is AFL 1501? These are all extremely connected and they're very specific to UNISA and to this environment. So a signature module, each college at UNISA, there are many different colleges, has a signature module. This is a compulsory first year module that any student registering for any degree within that college has to study. It's a foundation course. It teaches them many skills and critical thinking and foundations for the remainder of their degree. The College of the Human Sciences signature module is AFL 1501, and each signature module has a teaching assistant. A teaching assistant is there for the students. We help with queries. We mark all of their assessments, including their final exam, and we have to guide the students motivate the students, play an active role in their online discussions, provide them with all the information. It's really the teacher of this course. I became a TA in 2019. And what I noticed was that the students and the TAs faced challenges in the semester. I noticed motivation of the students, and TA motivation was quite a challenge. Engagement on an online platform where there's no face-to-face contact was a challenge. The fact that it's a fully online module where the students have to get everything online, submit assignments online, engage online, it's a challenge for the students. I also noticed, and this is key to my master's project, is that there was a varying range of support given to the students by various TAs. Some TAs, and again, not a slate at anybody, but the TA is in control of how much they give the students and what they do with the students. So I did notice that some TAs would do the minimum and other TAs would go over and beyond what was expected of them. And that got me thinking, does this level of teacher assistant effectiveness affect the student performance? This is how my master's thesis idea came into fruition. I also thought, and again, not a slate at UNISA, but there was a lack of proper training for teaching assistants. Don't get me wrong, there is actual training. We go through a training program, but once you've done the training program, which is really going through the module itself online, you are left to your own devices. And I thought much more can be given and done in the form of guidance to the TAs. I must say, in retrospect, that in 2020, the level of guidance and support for TAs has increased, so I'm quite happy with that. And then it got me thinking as well about the student engagement. You have a varying level of students themselves. Some, their aim is just to pass, not to learn. So they do the bare minimum. And no matter how much encouragement, motivation, support, etc. that you give them, they might still not participate and still not be a part of the group discussions. And they might still fail or not do well. So again, does the TA actually have anything to do with this? So my answer to this is I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to my research. Part of me says, yes, the TA is extremely related to the student performance, and the better the TA, the better the student performance. And the other part of me says no. So this is what I'm going to be looking at in my project. The students come from all different ages, they have different qualifications, they have different work experience, languages, backgrounds, socioeconomic statuses, and have different abilities. How can we better engage these students and guide them to improve their performance in this module? Because it's key for the remainder of their studies, this foundation that they get. Another thing that really motivated me into studying this was the positive feedback that I received from students. The students hand in a portfolio of evidence and they don't write an exam. And I would get students writing in their portfolio of evidence how this module has changed them, how much they've grown, how much they have learned, how the support that they've received has really helped them, how I am the best lecturer they have had at UNISA. I don't know if that's true or not. That's what they said. And really, really positive reviews that they have learned and grown, and they've improved their grammar. And it really got me thinking about this level of effectiveness from the teaching assistant and trying to get a better standard for them across the board. I also had access to the students and to the TAs within this module. So I knew that it would be something that I would be able to achieve. And I thought it would be something that would be potentially interesting to UNISA. I had a social problem which I sought to understand better, and this is how my project was born. I decided to investigate this more, and therefore my research idea was created. I submitted the topic, can having an active teaching assistant in online distance higher education improve the success rate of student performance in their first year of study? This was my research idea. It was a quantitative study looking at student performance in a module with a TA and then comparing that to a module that they did not have a TA for. With the help and guidance of my supervisors that I was assigned after doing that first draft, my topic has changed and narrowed subsequently. This is what I will go into next. My current topic is the effectiveness of teaching assistant in a signature module, a case study looking at improving student performance. So my topic changed after my first feedback session with my supervisors. I will go into that next. It changed from quantitative to qualitative research approach. So underpinning the fact that it's qualitative, I'll be looking at it with the paradigm of interpretive social constructivism. It's a case study design because we are looking at one module in one institution over one semester. From the literature that I've consulted, I will be using the theoretical frameworks of the community of inquiry model, the transactional distance theory, and the online learning model and partnering. In my research, literature review and my research that I did on this topic, there were quite a few theories that people have used in similar research undertakings, Vygotsky and Piaget, but these were quite outdated for me. And because we were looking at online distance education, I wanted something a little bit more current with the thinking. So that's why I went for these. The methods that I will be using are participant observation. I will be looking at the 4 groups of students that I am assigned in the first semester of next year as a TA, at their marks, at their participation within the groups, at a few other different things. We'll be doing a document analysis on the various policies that exist in UNISA around distance education and teaching and learning support. And I will be having interviews. I will offer all of the students in my groups an opportunity to have an online interview with myself. I have 2 supervisors. I'll explain why in a little bit. So the journey of my proposal, as I explained earlier, that registration document that I created to register for the course became my first draft. I don't know where everybody is in their own processes, but what surprised me, and I think if I'd known this, I would have been, a little bit more prepared, was that the first draft that you submit to UNISA for your proposal, you have no guidance, you have no supervisor support, you don't really have anything from them. They expect you to submit a full first draft to them. I think the date was February or March, maybe April. I can't remember. It feels like a long time ago. So you have to submit a first draft, and then after that draft, you get your first feedback session. So mine, I submitted what I submitted in the beginning of the year. I tweaked a few things, obviously, and I had my first session with my supervisors after that. And my topic changed. It went from quantitative to qualitative. It went from me comparing modules with a TA and without a TA to looking at modules that only I have access to. This is for ethical reasons. Okay. So that registration document that I did really helped me tackle the research and got me thinking about my topic. So I think it is quite important to, at least if you're not submitting documents officially to UNISA, that you at least do your own document in preparation. I chose this topic and this area because I wanted something that's beneficial and interesting to me, as you're going to be spending a long time on this journey. Third time's the charm. That's because it took me 3 submissions to get my topic settled on, and it's still not finished. I have 1 more submission, which I'm going to get feedback on shortly on what I have submitted, and then I think I still have 1 more chance to submit. The evolution of the topic really came from literature as well. Doing the research is one of the first steps that you have to do. And I think you need to, especially when doing qualitative research, be open to the fact that your topic might change, your methods might change, your theoretical frameworks might change. So I think it's important to be open to change when it comes to this. Problems that I have faced. The first one is writer's block. I don't know if any of you have experienced this. So I sent in the draft when I had to change my topic, and I got feedback, and then I had to start implementing changes to the new topic and the new ideas. And I honestly hit a brick wall. I would open my computer and I would read what I'd written yesterday, and then read another journal article, and then try and understand it, try and get my head around everything, and just sit and stare at my computer and not actually be able to write anything. And it became really, really frustrating for me. I thought, I don't understand what's going on. I'm so stupid. How can I be doing this? I need to deregister. I'm not capable. And this all came from changing the changes to my topic, because they weren't my changes. They came from supervisory level. It changed from quantitative to qualitative. I had to get my head around new methodology, new analysis, new everything. So it was quite a confusing process. I was lost and I had to start again. I had to read all new literature. And this leads me to my second point. Reading too much or reading too little. There comes a point where you have to stop reading and stop downloading articles of Google Scholar or the UNISA library, because you just get yourself too confused. You also shouldn't read too little. So they really have to find that balance. I got to a stage where I was reading and reading and reading, and I thought I have to stop because it's too much information. So from my literature review, and from my research, I found the topics that I wanted to explore, and I chose 5 articles per topic. And that's what I stuck to. I think another challenge that I have faced is the distance from the supervisor. As a distance education student, I think it's a problem that we all do face. I don't want to bug them with every little small question. I feel like I need to do it on my own. And there is this big gap. You send them something and you wait for them to reply. It's not like having a face-to-face lecturer that you see every day. The last challenge, I'm sure many of you have it as well, is allocating time in your busy lives. You have children or work or families or friends or hobbies, whatever it is, everything needs to balance. And allocating time to read, to write, to go over what you did, to attend workshops, it can be a challenge. So you just have to hang in there and allocate the time where you have the time to allocate. Support from UNISA. I have tried to attend as many of the workshops as possible. I'm not always able to, but as many of them as possible. It's something that I can really recommend. These workshops have been really beneficial to me. And you guys are here, so you know that too. There's the new academic program that has just been launched. I'm sure you've received emails about it. I've recently joined it, and I've also joined the MOOCs for academic literacy and academic writing. If you haven't done it yet, I would really, really suggest that you do. Something that I learned recently that I think not everybody knows about is that you can request the library to do a literature review search on your behalf. Let me just say that again for you guys. You can put in a request at the library where you give them your keywords, whatever theories you want to look at, what your topic is, and a librarian goes and does a literature review for you and they send it to you. It changed my life. So one big support from UNISA. It helps because the library, if you've tried to navigate it before, it can be quite daunting and difficult and scary, and where do you find things? So this really helped. Something else that really helped me was the library resource of the institutional repository. This is every single master's and PhD thesis that has been submitted to UNISA, and you can search by faculty, sort of by college, by degree. You can search by topic. So part of my literature review was looking at the institutional repository at what other research has been done in a similar environment or similar topics to me. Has someone else looked at signature modules? Has anyone looked at a teaching assistant? Has anyone looked at the effectiveness of teaching assistants or student support? So that for me was really a good win. The next thing that I have found very great and supportive from UNISA is that you can send your draft proposals or your chapters or your full thesis to the academic writing support email address, and they will read it and give you feedback on your academic writing. They don't give you feedback on your theory or your if you're doing the correct methodology or anything like that, but on your writing, really constructive feedback. So I can recommend that you do that as well, even if it's a chapter, just to see that you're on the right page. And then my supervisors have been really great. They really do know what they are talking about and what they are doing. So you have to give them all your trust and you have to listen to them. I think it's important that you find one that suits your niche, so that is well understood in that particular topic that you're doing, or one that is working within a field that's similar. I have two. I have Dr. Nene. He's actually the head of the teaching assistants and he works for the AFL module in the College of Human Sciences. He is there to support me on the methodology side, making sure that what I'm doing is going to be ethical and what I'm doing is going to get me sort of the results that we are wanting to look at, and if he is going to be helping me with sort of the things that are related to TAs and AFL and signature module. And then I have Dr. Stepe, and he is in the adult education department, and he is working with online education and online distance education and e-learning. So between the two of them, I have all the support that I need. So co-supervisors, I can really recommend it. They work together. I send them something, they discuss it, and they get back to me with their feedback. So it's really useful. Highlights, they're not many yet, but I'm still positive and happy. One of my highlights was discovering Mendeley. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to go and download this as soon as possible. It changed the way that I do my academic writing and my referencing. Mendeley, you can load the articles that you are using. You can create folders. So I have a folder of everything that I have used, everything that I've used in this chapter, everything that goes in this topic, in the second draft, etc., etc. And it helps you do the referencing. You don't need to do it yourself. You type in what type of referencing tool or you're using APA or Harvard, and it does the referencing basically for you. It was a real highlight and a game changer because I kept messing up my referencing, not overall, but I didn't know that if I have a quote over 40 words that I need to indent on both sides, for example. And now with Mendeley, the APA 6 is loaded and it does it all for me. So it's something that's really beneficial. Another highlight was when I finally understood my new topic. Took me a while. Like I said, I had writer's block. I didn't understand it. I was confused, and I just had to push through. And when I understood it, I had that light bulb moment, and I got back at my computer and I wrote 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 because I finally understood my own topic. I know it sounds crazy not understanding your research topic, but that's how much mine changed. Another highlight, positive feedback from my supervisors. I have been getting positive feedback from them since the second submission. I'm waiting for the full feedback session for them. The one doctor is on leave, so we're waiting for him to get back. And handing in that second submission meant I was one step closer. My aim is to get my proposal my proposal in by the end of November, and then next year I will tackle the actual project. My advice to you, if you are still not at the proposal stage yet, just start it. I did that document to register, and doing that document, it became my first draft of a proposal. So do something like that. Force yourself, give yourself a deadline. Say, by the end of November, I want to have my own first draft, even if you don't submit it to anybody. Thinking about it and writing about it and reading about your topic will really get you going and get you forward. So I can't recommend that enough. Something else, keep your topic simple, accessible, and achievable. I understand that we want to solve the world's problems, but if you really want to get far in your research and complete it, I think this is what you need to keep in mind. Try and keep your topic simple, try and understand it. I chose mine because it's going to be beneficial to me in life and it's something that I'm interested in. So I guess you need to figure out what you want to do and how you want to do it, but make sure that it's achievable. Don't want to interview all the presidents of every single country in Africa because it's not achievable. Keep working, keep reading, keep revising. It's one thing that you have to do. Even though I've handed in my second draft, I'm still going to my draft and reading more and revising a paragraph and editing this and adding in another thing because it's a work in progress. It's not finished. You must never think of it as a finished thing. I also had to figure out when I am the most creative because trying to do my research proposal at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night, I had no energy. So I figured out that I was the most creative when I wake up in the morning. So I wake up 2 or 3 hours earlier than what I should before work starts. And that's when I work on my master's. That's when I write and revise and look at, because I can do so much in those 2 or 3 hours that I can't even achieve in a whole day because of the way that my body works and my brain works. I get too tired. So I think that's really good to try and find the time where you are the best and the most creative, because that's when you should be working on your research. Something else, talk to others about your research. If you say to a friend or somebody that you know or colleague, I want to tell you about my research idea, and you talk it over with them, they might come up with something or have a thought that you didn't think of, or you might suddenly have a new thought. It really, really helps to talk about it to somebody else and not just keep it in your own head. I think you should attend all the workshops. I've mentioned that before. They have really, really helped me. I think starting at the literature review is another one that's quite important. The literature review, when you read, you will find other research that's happened and what sort of theoretical foundations they have, and that can help you with your chapters. So it will change as you go through before you hand in, but starting at that point is really important. Don't start with the methodology. I mean, you can think about it, but I think the literature review is where you should start. Engaging with your supervisor. For me, is really important. Listen to them. They know what they're talking about. They really do, and engage with them. If you're feeling stuck or you not quite sure about something, or you want to say, oh, what about this theory? Really, really engage with them. And my last point is, don't take the critique personal. Be a rhino, have thick skin. After my first feedback session, I thought, what am I doing? Why am I doing this to myself? Am I ever going to pass? This is awful. But you have to just take the negative and turn it into a positive. Really, really, they know what they're talking about, and they don't want you. They know what is going to be accepted and what is going to work, and what is going to be achieved, and what is ethically correct, etc., etc. So if you really, haven't got it that first time and they give you that critique or that criticism, understand where it comes from. It's to make your project a success, because they want you to be a success and you want to be a success. So that's my last point. Do not take the critique personal. Be a rhino. Have thick skin. I don't know if I'm allowed to take questions, but I've put this in here anyway. I'm done.
Yes, of course. I would like to have at least 20 questions.
Oh, wow.
I can't, there's a little hand where you can raise your hand, and we will give you permission to unmute yourself, and then
I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Okay, then we can work it like that.
Sure. I don't know if my session was useful to anybody. I hope it was. Maybe people can say in the where in the process of their research they are, if they've maybe had similar challenges or have questions about the various supports that I can say that I've received. I'm not sure if anyone has questions about that, or wants to talk about their research, where they are, how far in the journey they are. I hope it was positive to everybody. I hope I've given you hope and more energy and confidence to tackle your research. As I said, I'm no expert. I'm in the process with all of you, and mine is still a work in progress.
I would like to give some feedback at this stage. People speak about the academic journey. It's not a journey, dear. It is a camino. And
exactly, it's a huge commitment.
Yes, and you do it one step at a time. And I do a lot of hiking, I suppose I've told you that. And when we sit down on a hike, it is part of the hike. And then when we get up, we're refreshed. If you get negative feedback, or you have to do the research proposal again, it is an opportunity to rest and start again. It's not a mistake. It is
Agreed.
Because you have grown that you now have to do something else. I can't see whether Jock is still in the meeting, but I had an interesting experience. I saw Stephanie's research proposal right after I've seen somebody else's research proposal. Now, I've worked with a previous person personally, but for some other reason, he doesn't want to attend these classes, or he can't. I don't know why. But I could see that Stephanie touched on aspects in her research proposal that I had to remind him to do. So even sometimes you might feel that the workshop isn't for you, but I agree with her. It is an opportunity to learn. And she said that you should discuss your research. That's the big aim of this kind of meeting, that you have an opportunity to say, well, how did you solve this problem? What did you do with the ethical clearance? And even if the rest of us only listen to you and say, gee, you're in a sticky spot, at least you have verbalized your problem. And that is usually 2 or 3 steps to the front. Oh, there's somebody who wrote something. Can you see it, Stephanie?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Kimberly. I'm glad it was useful. Like I said, I'm just sharing my experience so far. So good luck to you on your journey. And yeah, have a good evening if she's
Yes,
still
and
listening.
um, Stephanie can also give you feedback because I did the writing support on her research proposal.
I didn't
Of
know
course,
it was going to you, Mimi. I sent it to the email address and then you responded. So it was I was quite excited that you had read my proposal. It wasn't directly sent to you from me. So it was really useful, your feedback that you gave me. Thank you.
and Stephanie will, look, I can't, of course, there are obvious errors. I read a research proposal where the student confused South Africa and Southern Africa. And don't feel bad about that. I've also had a guy who put Ghana below the equator. So, and that's the kind of thing that I can pick up. But the supervisor can look at your content, but the supervisor can only see you've built a bad sentence. They, unless you are doing it maybe in linguistics, they can't give you advice on how to change the sentence into a better sentence. Um, so somebody else recommends Mendeley, and I think you have to. There is a workshop on Mendeley that should be still available for downloading. So the writing support, I want to say something else. Don't wait until you have finished your assignment for the for writing support. In my years of giving writing support, you don't develop new mistakes between your introduction and your conclusion. So if you send me, you can send me the first page you've done. And from that, I'll be able to give you advice if you make serious problems. I have challenges with reviewing my own work. Do you have any idea how I can go about doing this? Mr. or Mrs. Kubayana, you can contact me with your work, and then we can have either a meeting on Teams, because I found that with people who are very busy, it's sometimes easier for them to have a meeting on Teams than to wait for me to work through everything and then send it back, etc., etc. Stephanie, what would your advice be to her or him?
I agree. I think if you send it to that's what I did. I sent it to the academic email address, and then they forwarded it to Mimi. Another option would be to give it to somebody else. It doesn't have to be at UNISA. Give it to somebody else that maybe has a good grasp of academic writing or English language, and get them to read it and see if it makes sense. I've done that with mine as well. Sent it to somebody I know and said, "Does this make sense?" Yeah. That's what I would recommend. The academic option is also a good one, because that's at least through UNISA, so you know that the quality is going to be good from the feedback.
Yes, and I must compliment Jacques on this, because this whole program was his idea, and he really worked hard to make it work. And I think it is getting off the ground and it's working, because we have a wide variety of people here, and I'm sure that between you and me, we will create a safe space where you can say, I'm really stuck, and then go on from there. I'm going to put the email addresses again here in the
It's the CT&T TUT one, I think, that I sent mine to.
yes, but
and then just tell them that that's what you're wanting to do.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mimi.
But you can send it directly to me. Then I don't have to wait until it comes up in the because sometimes they miss it. It has happened before. But if you send it to those two, and it will end up on my desk or in my inbox. I'm going to take control again, Stephanie. Is that okay with you?
Of course, I'm done. Thanks, Mimi, for giving me the opportunity. I was really nervous, but I'm glad I could at least give everybody some hope, maybe, that it's okay to feel frustrated and you just have to work through it. I think that's one of the big things. So thanks everyone for listening to me. Have a good evening. I'm going to stay on for the rest of the session.
Okay, I've spoken about on the 8th of October. We need your friendly faces again, and I need somebody to apply. And my dream is that we will have 2 or 3 people applying for a date, and then we can really have our own kind of symposium going, where people present and you can ask questions and everything. Then I really want to give you feedback on the Turnitin webinar that I attended. First of all, not all the honors modules are registered for Turnitin, but from the questions I inferred that the lecturers have Turnitin accounts, and they then can put your paper through Turnitin, and they can detect plagiarism, or that you have quoted too much. Another interesting fact was that all the master candidates have an account. So apparently there's a letter that you must look for in your My Life account. And you can only access Turnitin from your My Life account. therefore, even on your front page, or where you put, because on your front page or the second page, you have your email address. Keep that, everything for your My Life account. And then if you have an old system, remember Turnitin cannot be accessed from Internet Explorer anymore. And then you need to access turnitin.com. Apparently there's turnitin.uk and something else as well. You must only use turnitin.com. Another problem apparently is that when you submit your paper to Turnitin, you have to mark whether it's a draft or a final product and so on. And if you make a mistake, if you submit a draft as a final, you need there is some other problem, because then the next time that you submit that chapter, there is a problem, and then you need to contact the library, the Turnitin at UNISA, to make sure that it is right. You have to discuss your result with the supervisor. And remember, please use your My Life account to access your supervisor. Even if your supervisor has allowed you to use another account, stay with your My Life account. The presenter said, Turnitin does not indicate plagiarism. That decision rests with the supervisor, because the supervisor will be able to help you. But the aim is not to get your red marks, to bring those marks down. That's not the aim. The aim is to improve your original contribution. And it was, I can remember that if you are doing a PhD, only 5% may be quoted, but of course on PhD level, you need to show that you are adding original information to the body of knowledge. And on the master's level, it's on another, there's another percentage. But the idea is not to bring the red marks down, but to bring the originality up. Yes, that I've spoken about. And then please write this in your phones or wherever you keep your, because this is the place where you must go for any help that's necessary on Turnitin. And remember, when you write to the university, you have your student number. In your case, you will have masters or honors in, and then your student number in the subject line, because UNISA is such a big place. They often have special supervisors. So I kind of assume that if you're in the education department like Stephanie, there will be somebody who works with those queries, and it will be different from political science or business science and so on. So remember, they need that information in the subject line. Then I hope there are still a few of you that you're not all left to go and prepare some food. What I also now need to get from you, may I ask what happened and what we are encouraged to submit? Mr. or Mr. Dare, it's you can submit the first paper, the first part of your paper. You don't, because I'm only looking at the grammar, and I spot those grammar mistakes usually within the first few paragraphs. And then I can give you advice on that, because if you, like Stephanie had a 28-page research proposal, it takes me quite a few hours to work through 28 pages. If so, for 28 pages, people have repeated the same problem. But if you send me the first 1 or 2 pages, I can correct on that, and you can immediately start applying the correct way of writing. No, it doesn't matter, Stephanie. I get paid by the hour. When I see a 28 page, I plan a holiday. The next thing that often I see feedback that you've been penalized because the cover page wasn't correct. They are so strict. What I've deducted from the webinar on Turnitin, they are so strict on the cover page, because the cover page must be perfect if you submit it to Turnitin. So I know that's my downfall. I'm not good with detail. But you read that sheet, and if they say the font must be Arial 10, there are other fights to fight. Don't fight with that one. Just keep to those rules, because those rules have been made for a reason. The road forward for the classes, for our classes. What are your needs? Do you know? I want to make a suggestion, and then you can write or let me know. You have my email address up there. I want to suggest that we take an academic article where we start with the introduction, and then we go through this and this and this. And I explain to you briefly what should be in your introduction. And then we start applying the academic phrase bank that I have posted, so that it up till now the classes have been focused on how do I read the article with reference to how you write it. But now we change it around. We say, okay, you have the information. How are you going to write it? These are the phrases. And it was interesting what Marley said last time about the editing, that in academic writing, we will repeat the same phrases far more than we'll do in creative or other writing. That we spend the rest of this semester on specific academic writing styles. Now you guys have to vote. Is that what you want? Okay. Oopsie. Where do I find you? I want the chat. Chapter and paragraphs, but every little bit of, I found that focus in writing is a challenge for me. Yes. Mr. or Mrs. Doris, it is a problem. As Stephanie said, it has to do with one's natural time that you are creative. I prefer to do my thinking early in the day. That's the time that I'm fine. So, and if you work and you have family responsibilities and everything. Oh, it's Miss. Okay, Miss Doris. It is very difficult, and it's important that you co-decide with the people that you know, your family and whatever, that they understand that if your time to work is on a Sunday morning, then that is the time that you work, and you'll spend time with them on Sunday night. But time management is very difficult, and it's very difficult then to make up the time. Okay, I will, when we write in the Research and Scholar, if I post something here, it is sent to your My Life account, because if you write something here, it's sent to My Life account. So what I'm going to do is I'll speak to Jacques, and then I think I'll leave your Saturdays, and that we can rather have our keep our Thursdays into as your class, and every second week or once a month or whatever, I'll have to speak to Jacques. We have an academic writing class, whether we move from reading it properly to writing it properly. Is that fine with you guys? Okay. Perfect. Fine. Then, and who is going to present next time? Who feels, because what would be nice if there's somebody who's really stuck and present, Ms. Doris, this Thursday evenings have come about because I feel that you must get an opportunity to speak to the students about your, no, it doesn't matter that you were late, that you must speak to the students about your research that you are presenting. And I asked Stephanie because I knew that she was in teaching, so I knew she would be able to do it. But my dream is that somebody would say, I'm stuck with my methodology. I'll take you through the steps. What do you advise? What do we do? Because we're at most we are about 20 people, and all of you are quite used to working online, so we can really have a discussion. Oh, here's Claudine. She's the person who usually keeps me out of trouble. So anybody who's going to write me a nice letter and say I am ready to speak to the group? Or must I simply get bully somebody into presenting? I'm not good at bullying, but I can always try. Okay. Okay, Ms. Darius, I'll contact you. Just put your student number in here so that I can definitely contact the right person. I'll contact you and explain. You can unmute yourself, Ms. Darius, because everybody is usually muted, but you can unmute yourself and then you can tell me what is your area of expertise? What kind of research do you do? You can unmute yourself. That's your
Hi.
number. Hi, you can speak.
Thank you. I actually only have a few minutes to speak. I hope it's okay.
Yes,
My
no, that's
area
fine.
is okay. I'm doing a master's in art history, and my area of study is in public art. And I did mention something about it in a previous presentation that we had.
Mm.
Yeah, it's got to do with complexity theory and public art and the contentious situations that build up around public art. Um, but yeah, sorry, I kind of have to go right now, and I thought I'd just worm this in quickly just before I have to go. But thank you for listening.
Okay, Ms. Darius, I'm definitely going to contact you, and then will you be free to present on the 8th of October?
On the 8th, yeah, sure. It's like I said, I just like a heads up, but I'm grateful for the opportunity because we didn't actually have our own presentations um, in our faculty kind of thing. So
Okay,
I appreciate at least something so that I can get some feedback.
that'd be absolutely lovely.
Okay. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for your time, but I'm going to have to
No?
go now.
Okay, now everybody has to go and make food. Jock, please, will you do the final honors and thank everybody for coming, because I think our discussion forums are really something special. And Jock, I spoke to them about it, but I think this program you've put together for the postgrad students is really making a difference to everybody. Okay, people, any questions that you want to ask still? Stephanie, thank you very much. I feel like I really feel like a proud mother hen to think my first student has presented, and I'm looking forward to all the other presentations we're going to have. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mimi. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and have a good evening.
Yes.
All the best to everyone in their studies.
Thank you. See you we'll inform you when we have our next meetings. Thank you.